You gotta find your people, the ones that make you feel alright. The kind you wanna stay up with all night.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Buckleheads Podcast, hosted by Brian Gillespie and Devin Nelson, where we are talking to and interviewing everyone we can seek out about all things running and fitness throughout the Midwest, from race directors to back of the packers, from race winners to volunteers. We love running and all things fitness, and we know that there are so many people throughout the Midwest with stories to tell and info to share. Join us as we take a run on this journey.
To understand what you're saying for a word is spoke. You gotta find your people to put the needle in the groove. When you're together, you got nothing to prove.
Chapter 1, choose your suffering. Most people, first hint of discomfort, they throw in the towel, they're done. We're either going to suffer the pain of regret by not chasing our dreams, or we'll suffer the pain of enduring hard work and sacrifice. I like Goggins because you either love him or you hate him. I love his approach. This is the way it is, and this is what it takes. As far as just life preparation, Mike Glover is somebody who I really look up to.
You carrying this fucking pointless rock up a hill with no one there. That's why that's impressive.
Whatever sacrifice you do every day on your own, that's usually what sets you apart because most people won't do it. To me, that makes an outlier. They can see the bigger picture and realize, hey, it's going to take some blood, sweat, and tears.
All right, I just wanted to open with that real quick because, one, Cam Hanes is someone that his book is about to come out, and I don't know if you know who Cameron Hanes is, but he's a ultra runner, bow hunter dude, but he is, I thought.
My dad,
yeah.
take us with him, and we grew up with deer jerky and deer steak, and oh my gosh, it was just some of the best stuff out there. I love it.
Yeah, but his whole approach is like just, kind of just be undeniable and just do things that others don't want to do. So we're just gonna jump right in here. What's up, Brian? How are you doing, man?
Doing pretty good. How you doing?
Good. It's been a dreary, nice little Sunday. But before we get totally into the podcast, we have Angela Smith on. Super awesome. But so it's great having you, Angela. I wanted to jump on real quick and just, you posted a picture that almost like, it's interesting how social media works. Like, I saw your story because you paced the Garmin Olathe Marathon yesterday, right? We're recording this on Sunday, April 27th, and you paced that yesterday, right?
Yeah, no, I paced 3:20, and quite rewarding. It was actually my first marathon I ever paced 20 and up, and I came in, got to see lots of people get Boston qualifiers and really hit their time, and it was such a rewarding experience to be able to give and then like kind of give back and really help people chase their goals, get their PRs, and take that next step in their fitness journey.
Yeah, you made that post. I think someone tagged you in it and you shared it, but it was, I don't know if she was your friend or not, but she was on the ground, super emotional. You said you were emotional because she met her goal, and, were you running that kind of with her, or were you just pacing that 3:20 mark, just to do that time?
It was both. I was originally scheduled to pace 3:30, but I was able to swap last minute and pace 3:20. And so I was pacing her, and I was trying to grab however many people I could just to get that 3:20 mark. And we had such a strong team. I want to say I started out with about 10 of them, and most of them made it within 3:20 or 3 minutes, within 3 minutes of it. It was phenomenal.
Wow. I always joke, or I can't remember, it might have been with David. I was joking with, like, I have a love-hate relationship with pacers and marathons because they tend to, like, it's like the scene in Titanic where you're like, come back, when they start to lose you, when you start to fade. But that is a fast marathon, though. That's awesome.
It was quite interesting. Just going from doing the 100 a month ago to much faster race. I mean, obviously shorter distance by far, but still it was quite interesting. It was so beautiful to be able to do that. And, I feel I feel very grateful and, happy that I was able to do that for my friend Mimi and so many other people. It was just awesome.
Yeah, so we've often talked, our Bucklehead group is pretty big, and the group is always helping each other, pacing and crewing, and we've all said that many times we get more excited or more enjoyment, I guess, seeing our friends finish races than we do, finishing our own races.
Oh yeah, for sure. No, I share that same feeling with you. It's a totally different experience. It's one thing for you to be out there and hit your goal, but it's another if we're able to take somebody else, or multiple people to to a higher level of fitness. It's just awesome.
Yeah, that's cool. I just wanted to start with that because I saw that on your story today, and I think we had Kelly. Kelly was out there volunteering, and I think Robert in our group, he was out there too. But yeah, that's a lot of cool. So yeah. we always start the podcast with a question. I don't know if you know who Dylan Bowman is. He's Free Trail Podcast, ultra runner dude up in Washington. But we snagged this question from him, and so we're gonna ask you, Angela, what makes you you? So what makes Angela essentially? It can be pretty deep, or you can take it however you want.
It's a constant journey of self-discovery. I feel like with these crazy distances we run. 1 minute you're running a mile, the next minute you're trying to chase after a 5K, and as you get through each, as the distance kind of progresses and goes down the line, you're constantly learning so much more about yourself and what you're capable of. And then you start to really dive deep into the mentality and the emotions and even the spirituality, like behind how that, behind all of what happens. There were moments I've had more recently where it's just like, I'm praying out loud, I'm praying out loud. I'm praying to myself. I'm like, God, I don't feel strong, but I know that you're giving me strength to be able to do this. Just please help me do this smart. Help me do it right and lead me to the finish. If that's what you want me to do, so be it. So it's a constant journey. For me, it's a lot of my journey started after I had my firstborn, Vivi, who's actually 4 years old. I wanted something to do. I wanted to feel free. I wanted to be healthy for myself and for her and for my whole family. So we got a jogging stroller. We just started running. I was probably 1 month postpartum. And then the journey just kind of went on. And 4 years later, I'm still doing it, not with her all the time, but with my now 1.5-year-old son. And it's just, it's been great. I've been able to explore different distances, really try and hit some get some great PRs. And it's just, I'm constantly learning how to become a better parent, how to become a better wife, and how to become a better friend, just through all my experiences in this, running community. It's just been so rewarding, gives back a lot. So yeah, it's, short answer, I'm constantly learning. I'm looking to take that next step. What that is, I don't know yet. So yeah, constant journey.
Yeah, so the physical side of training and racing is great, but there's that mental health side that is just fantastic that most people don't realize unless they actually go out and start doing it. So you said you started about 4 years ago is kind of when this started. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. And did you, when you were younger, growing up in school, did you participate in any kind of sports? Did you run it all back then, or is this truly just brand new?
So I come from a family, there's 9 of us. So we were always playing with each other, always roughhousing. We were all kind of best friends. One day we were homeschooled for the most part. And it was 2016. One day I just saw a marathon advertised in the neighborhood I grew up in. I thought, that looks fun. There's so many people doing this. They're all getting like these cool looking snacks. I want to try that. if they can do it, I can do it. So 18 years old, I signed up for my first marathon, and it stuck. It hurt so bad because I didn't know what I was doing, but it kind of gave me that understanding of, yes, I can do this distance, but can I do it better? And can I do it smarter and more efficiently? So that, led me to do another marathon the following year. And then I kind of took a break after 2017 just to, I was more of a recreational runner at the time. I wasn't trying to compete or anything. So I really didn't pick it up until early 2021. And then I just started getting better. I started competing more. And then the story continues. The journey continues. So here we are.
Yeah. Was there something that happened that made you like kind of instantly realize, hey, I'm pretty good at this? Or was it just a gradual progression to get there?
It was a gradual progression. As soon as I started pushing that stroller, suddenly in a month or two, I want to say, my times started shattering. One run, I'm running maybe a 9-minute per mile pace. A few months later, I'm hitting mid to low 8s with the same effort level, or RPE as some people call it. And then a year later, I'm running in the upper 6s, 7s, and I've just been getting faster. And obviously, I've done different things in training as well. It's not just the stroller. I started doing strength training in addition to running about a year. Yeah, it's actually a year ago. And that really helped my overall running economy, and really helped me focus on it. Really kind of set the stage. I've never been in better shape than I am right now. So very thankful I started on that strength path and the people that helped me do that. So, yeah.
Yeah, you guys went in. So you were on David's podcast a few weeks ago, diving into a lot of Prairie Spirit talk and a lot of strength talk. And so we'll kind of gloss over that stuff. But was it like, I'm always curious as to, especially like with moms, because I can't obviously I can't relate to being a mom, but like I'm trying to word this, like, where did the competitiveness like start to like blossom when you were, starting to become faster and faster, and then have the drive like as a mom and as a parent? Like, was it just like, okay, now I'm going to start pushing this, and then, talk about like this, like your husband being supportive, because, comparing you to me a little bit, my wife she's not a runner, and she understands the sacrifice of running these types of distances. And, I joke, I'm like, I tried, like, I'll joke a little bit too. I was ahead of you a little bit at Prairie Spirit until I started to fade. And then that's where like, oh wow, she's in good shape right now. She's booking. But yeah, just kind of talk about like the balance and the support and like where that kind of, drive started to happen when you were, having kids and stuff.
Yeah. So in my mind, there's always that little spark of like, this sounds really, the spark in my mind that goes off is a workout that looks so ridiculous. I'm like, this is ridiculous, but this is gonna be so awesome if I finish. So let's just do it anyway and see where it takes me. Because how many other people are probably going to be doing this same workout with all this crazy stuff added? Probably not. Just trying to create unique workouts for myself on the running end of things and just seeing where they go, just experimenting with different training styles on the obviously running end. So that's kind of my spark. That was kind of the spark of like, let's try this out. Let's see what happens, because this just seems unique. This is kind of what I do. This is something that really tells my story about how I want to be a runner and how I'm, really trying to inspire others, parents, other moms to be able to get out, exercise with their kids, but also be able to kind of keep their values in place, without hurting, let's just say, their marriage or friendship and everything else that goes on. My husband, we talk before I sign up for races. I kind of give him a mock training plan of what training might look like and how many hours or how many miles that's going to entail. We sit down, discuss, and communication is just so big on our end when it comes to races. Without that, I'm just going to say it, my marriage would probably be in shambles. So it's getting our values in place and knowing how much we can put into each value that really sets the stage for success on my end. Because, it's not just me running, it's all the people, my family, my coach and friend Cam, all the people that have supported me that really, it's communication as a whole that really sets the stage for how well I perform. So it's not just me, like I said, it's everybody combined that helps me get the success that I've had.
Yeah, that balance is important for everybody. I mean, because running is great, but like you said, if you end up wrecking a marriage or just messing up any kind of relationship, then what's the benefit of it? So, my kids are older now, so it's a little bit easier for me to get out. But, like I said, I still, my wife knows before I'm signing up for any races, like we still talk about it and communicate all that as well. So I'm kind of curious. I'm a middle of the pack runner. Like I am not, I've never won a race. I've podiumed like twice when they were very small events, but so when I go into a race, my mindset is more of like, if it's like a hard mountain race that I can't really train for around here, it may be, I just want to finish this race under cutoff. If it's something around here that I'm familiar with, I might go in with a goal time, but that's kind of for me. So I'm just kind of curious. I stalked you on Ultra Sign Up, and I've seen you have won almost every race you've entered. So like going into a race, I guess, what is your mindset? Do you go into it thinking I'm here to win this race, or is it, I just want to get this time and have fun? I guess, what's it like for someone at your level?
It's self-competitiveness. I signed up for the 100 miler, let's just say at Prairie Spirit, with the idea of, I think I'm capable of doing this. Excuse me. I have an idea of what training's going to look like. I know the people I need to consult with. If I have a problem in training, let's try this out. Let's see how well I do, and let's go from there. I don't look so much at statistics on Ultra Sign Up because I'm not worried about what everybody else is doing. That's their journey. That's their race. That's their adventure. I'm focused on my adventure and how I can better myself as a runner. Everything else is just kind of extra. So, I mean, there is a little bit of pressure, but I try not to focus too much on statistics because that can, if you think about that too much in a race and think about constantly trying to beat the person behind you or directly in front of you, that just takes the fun out of everything. Are you having fun, or are you just trying to beat that person behind you that might be able to beat you 5 years later? What do you want out of a race? Really, I focus on what I want to get out of a race, not so much statistics.
Yeah, that's interesting because so the Hell Creek 100-mile race in 2023, I DNF'd mile 50. The heat got to me, so I ran it again this past fall, and I knew, probably 60 miles in, I knew, okay, I'm going to finish this unless I get hurt or do something really stupid. So I was just kind of cruising in until there was about an aid station with 3.25 miles left, and I had told my pacer, I'm like, hey, I'm just going to walk it in and savor finally finishing this race. And right when we were leaving the aid station, the volunteer was like, so by the way, you're in a battle for third place. And I'm like, oh, wait, what? And like I said, and I'm not, I don't finish on the podium. And at that point, I'm like, well, okay, Amber, my pacer, I'm like, we got to go. So but it is a very different feeling. Like when you are, I'm not saying worried about the runner behind you, but it was kind of different because I spent those last 3 miles, thinking more about, I got to beat whoever's behind me instead of just finishing my race, and it was fine. Like, I enjoyed it, and I had, the energy to do it, but I can see what you're saying. Like, if you spend the whole race with the mindset of, I just have to beat everybody else, it kind of, you're no longer necessarily doing your race.
Right. And I'm sure, and you probably experienced this, no matter if you're stressed about that, just knowing what place you're in always puts some level of stress on your shoulders, but it does bring up that adrenaline quite a bit of like, I need to get going. I need to not stop as much, or I need to really be efficient here. What's the best strategy to become more efficient? But
Yeah, I've learned that lesson several times, and like I'm just a stubborn learner because I like even at Prairie Spirit, I look at who's going to be there, and like the goal was to have a ridiculous fast time and compete for the win, even though like I didn't know Pete was showing up and all that stuff, but I've had that happen at several races where it's just like, why don't I just run my own race? And then if it's like 80, 90 miles in, then kind of see where the cards fall. But I always end up blowing up. And it was only fitting at Prairie Spirit that I blew up and all my friends caught up to me. Yeah, it was pretty epic. So, but
yeah, I think when we started, at least I tried staying with the group, but I realized about 15 seconds in, I looked at my watch, I was seeing low sevens. I'm like, yeah, we're gonna back off.
yeah, that was dumb.
Races. I'm gonna stay back here. We still have 99 miles and change to go. We're good. It's gonna be a day's journey, or half a day, or whatever time you're running.
Yeah. So when you started running, you started getting faster, you started running with the stroller a lot, and then because you've run Boston before, right?
Yes, I did it.
Okay.
And I did it. I was actually pregnant. I was about second trimester, actually.
Wow, that's a goal this fall. Even though I can't make up my mind if I want to run 100-mile or try and qualify for Boston or all the things. But so. Was it the goal to, because a lot of people, like when they start running marathons, or at least people I've talked to, they don't, Boston's a goal, but they ended up running like fast marathon times, and they're like, hey, you just qualified for Boston. And then they have that moment, and then they're, like, was that like, were you trying to qualify and try and run fast times, or how did that work? Because we had Rob Hayes on, and he talked about his Boston Marathon experience. And I don't know if you touched on it at all with David, but it's always rainy and miserable in Boston at the marathon. And so just, like, was it the goal to qualify for that? And then how did that progress?
So I got my first Boston qualifier when I was 9 months postpartum with my first Genevieve.
Wow.
Now 4. It was my goal. I had a high goal to Boston qualify. I want to say that was goal B at the time. My biggest goal was just to reach 3:30 if I got lucky. But I was blessed to have such a good pacer leading me at the time that I was able to knock out a 3:27. So, yeah, when it came to, so it was kind of a blessing to be able to do that. It wasn't my top goal to qualify for Boston. It was just kind of icing on the cake. But when it did come to Boston 2023, I waited like a year or two before I decided to just jump in Boston, because obviously it's expensive to go there.
Mm-hmm.
It was rainy. It was miserable. It was maybe 45, 50 degrees. There was a nice headwind, 10 to 15 miles per hour. I was sleep deprived. American Airlines was terrible. With all the flight cancellations, delays, so I was very stressed out. I had a goal of 3:15, but I let go of that right after I got to the Athletes Village, I think it's called. I can't remember the name. And I just said, I'm going to run this race off a feel. I don't care what time I get. I'm in Boston. I've already earned my right to be here. Let's just make the most of this. I ran a 3:26. So I was content with that, especially with being pregnant.
Yeah, that's still a great race. So you do road running and trail running. I'm just curious, do you have any preference on either of those, or do you really just like to mix it up all the time?
I like a variety. If I had more time to do trail, I would. It's just with being a stay-at-home mom, it's easier to do road because I can take a stroller, whereas, I mean, I can't do single track with a stroller. Limestone, maybe, depending on the thickness, but I would say overall, I prefer trail. I would do it more if I could, but at my point, in life as a mom with a couple toddlers, I stick to road, so I just make the best of both worlds.
Yeah, I think one of the great things about ultras is running longer. I think longevity, I guess, is that the right word I'm looking for? Like, a lot of your really fast road runners, they're pretty young, but in ultras, you still see lots of people in their 40s and 50s putting down really, really great races. So I think even if you can't get to it now, you're going to have plenty of time to get to that down the road. So, and I'm kind of curious to see, I saw on Ultra Sign Up, you are signed up for the Tunnel Hill 100. Is that correct?
Yes, I just did that, I want to say 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
I have very convincing friends, and I want to hit that next stepping stone. My goal is low 15s if I can, but I would like to PR, just see how I do.
Yeah, and that's a great race. I haven't done the 100, but I did the 50 out there, and maybe 3 years ago. It's been a little while. It's a great course. I mean, if you like Prairie Spirit, I think you're going to love the Tunnel Hill course. The one thing that's a little different is the 50 and the 100 milers all started together, at least back then, and there were 400 to 600 runners. So it's almost like more like a road marathon when you take off. So I'll just throw that out there. Someone like you that wants to, get a good time, just keep in mind that it does get bottlenecked if you don't kind of get your space at the beginning. So,
I heard
but it is a great race, great aid stations. I think you'll enjoy it.
That's good to know. I heard a rumor that Des Linden's going to be there for the 50 miler. I don't know if that's true or not. I'll have to check, but that would be cool just to meet her.
Yeah, that would be cool. I don't know if she's still doing it, but when I ran it, Camille Herron was there, and her plan was she was going to attempt to set the 100-mile world record, but we ended up getting some snow overnight, and with snow on the trail, she realized that wasn't really going to be possible.
Wow.
But yeah.
Yeah, just have the stroller the first 5K, just take people out, as you're going, and then pass them off.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just curious, what is the longest you've ever ran with the stroller? Have you done a full marathon with one, or?
No, I've done a half marathon. That's probably the cap distance my kids will let me.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a joke, like our friend Sterling, I don't know if you're familiar with Topeka at all, but Lake Shawnee, he does a race, Indy races. It's a charity with his son, but I'm the 3-time defending stroller champion granted, I'm the only one that's done it, but I'm like, pushing a stroller is no joke. Now, let's talk stroller talk a little bit. Do you have a high-end like Bob stroller, or is it, what's your running stroller?
So the single I have is a Graco, which only they don't make that specific one anymore. They have a newer edition. It's fine, it still works. The double I have is a Bob.
Yeah, those are awesome.
I really like them both. The kids, they love them, and as long as they have Bluey or something to look at, something to play with, they're pretty content.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't do a whole lot of like actual like just running and stuff with with my kids, mainly because it's like I live on a road and it like I usually try and run before everyone even wakes up. I mean, yeah, it's hard.
Those 4
Good.
a.m. are difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you'd mentioned that balancing your, training earlier and communicating with your husband. Do you run? Is it usually in the mornings, or when do you find time to knock out your training?
I do a little bit of both. Some days I want to say 2 to 3 times a week. I'll do morning runs with my son in the stroller. I'll drop my daughter off at preschool. I'll take my son in the single stroller and just knock out some workouts with him, whether that's at the track, if we're doing a progressive run on a trail, or if we're just doing some easy miles with a few strides here and there. I'll take him with me. As long as he's content, I won't make him go with me if he's just having a bad day. But most of the time it's all good. He's pretty happy, so I can't really complain. But on the weekends, obviously it's just me solo. I can't imagine, running 20 to 30 miles pushing a stroller. And then two days a week, I'll go to the gym and I'll get some strength knocked out. And if I'm missing a run or needing to get a run in, I'll sometimes run early in the morning. It's incredibly variable, just depending on how my energy levels are, if I've had enough sleep or adequate sleep. I'll just say that because I feel like as a parent, there's what the experts say you need to get as far as sleep goes, but then there's what you can survive on as a parent and what's doable.
Yeah.
100% hear that.
Yeah. I'm already
category.
Now, I'm curious. So, you had a coach for the full Prairie Spirit build, right?
Yes, my conditioning coach, Kim.
Okay, that's right. Because you had talked on David's podcast that you were the first runner that he had worked with, right?
First ultra runner.
Yeah, first ultra runner. So, are you taking kind of the same training approach to Tunnel Hill, and are you still with the same coach? And just like, I'm curious as to, like, I have a bad time like after a big race, after a big goal, and then some people like will restart a training plan, but then others will just kind of build on, maintain the base, and then increase as you're getting closer. Kind of what's your approach for Tunnel Hill? To run that like even faster than what you did at Prairie Spirit.
Right now, I'm kind of taking a break. That was a long 2.5, 3 month build up for me, and it did put some stress on my family, even though we were able to balance things out, generally speaking. I'm taking a break and just trying to give back to others for the time being. However, I am thinking in the next month or two, I'll really start to build up that more detailed work for Tunnel Hill. To answer your initial question, yes, I'm still using Cam. He's still giving me the workouts, and I plan to use them as long as I can, as long as he'll let me.
Yeah.
But my general, I haven't really ironed out training on the running end. Yeah, I have a few ideas, still ironing out the details on what I want to do differently, what I want to maintain. The biggest things that stuck out to me with my performance at Prairie Spirit were I spent a little too much time at the aid stations. Looking at my mile paces outside of those aid stations, they were pretty consistent. I had maybe a few 9+ minute miles here and there for those random bathroom trips we all take on the trail. But other than that I felt like that stayed pretty consistent. I could try and even out the pace more, but it's just trying to make the most out of getting those aid station stops without taking too much time. A lot of that was getting in my own head as well. Just because you always hit a wall at some point in time during a race. Mine was 40 to 60 miles. That was just one big solid wall for me, especially with the
Yes.
headwind we got.
That was awful.
That was terrible.
So
I do.
your extra time in the aid stations, do you think some of that was like a mental break, or was it just getting things organized and get everything you need before getting out of there, or a combination?
Combination, but I would like to say more of a mental break. I remember getting to Iola. I was laying on my stomach. I wanted to quit so bad. Everything hurt just knowing I had, what was it, 49, 50 miles left to go. Not wanting to do it, but knowing that I wasn't going to give up. I was going to finish, whether I was going to be last place or first place or whatever. So I just got up, after a few minutes and got myself together and went on. But I spent too much time in my own head thinking about how I was going to take that next step, when in reality, I could have just been out there walking and not stuck.
Right. Yeah. So do you have I'm assuming you had crew there. You had someone helping you out. Is that correct?
Yeah, so Cam
Okay.
was out there. He was adjusting me as needed. My dad was crewing me as well. I had my two pacers. Mimi was out there, and then I had Madison, we call her Spud, out there. They were alternating pacing me in that back half, and they really pulled me through. Well, I don't know if I could have done that without them.
Yeah. No, that's just, yeah, crew is super important. And I'm just curious, does your family attend your races? I know it's harder with young ones, especially at races that are going on that long, but are they typically there to watch you?
So I told my husband to stay behind with the kids if he couldn't find a sitter. That's because they see me, they get excited. Mom leaves the aid station, they're gonna ball. That's going to mess with my mentality, just being a mom. So I kind of I had to keep the distance there, but they did come at the end. So it was a blessing in disguise, honestly.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, and my kids are grown. My youngest daughter now is 23, so it's been a while since I've had, crying when I leave. But I could see where that would be tough to deal with. I mean, really, and the ultras are such a mental game. Like anything that throws you off can have a detrimental impact, especially when you have 50 miles or even 80 miles left or whatever it is. So, but yeah, so the crew. So Cam, is that right? Your strength coach? Is he a runner himself, or is he like still
No.
like new to this ultra world?
He's new, brand new to the ultra world, but
Yeah.
he likes it. He just, after we finished up, he just started digging more for more and more research. He just started researching more and more, and he's really starting to get into this unique sport. I'm just going to call it unique because obviously not many people do it, although I feel like ultras are booming right and left these days. So
Yeah, it is. It's interesting on like once we start surrounding ourselves with ultra runners and people that do these things, it seems like a bigger and bigger world. But you're right. Like there's, in the grand scheme of things, there's not a whole lot of people. I was curious. You had talked to David. So in your training approach with Cam, he basically handled the strength side of things, right? And you put together the running plan essentially. So what does that strength training look like? Are they like full body workout sessions in the gym? Is it a lot of single leg stuff? Is it a lot of like mobility type strength work? Because like when someone says strength work or strength training, it kind of like, it could mean all kinds of different things. Like sometimes it's like, well, I'm just going to hit chest today in the gym and that's my strength work. Or, it's leg day, or it's full body training, or you have a 30-pound, like what does that look like for you?
So I don't really have the brains to ask all that because he just sends me the work. I just do them and
Yeah.
they work.
Yeah.
That we did, to be a little specific, we did a kettlebell circuit. Most of my workouts would begin with some band work. We'd do a kettlebell circuit, and then the other stuff would be kind of mixed and matched. Some days we would do lunges, some days we would have some core, and some days we would do lats, and it was a little bit of a mixture of everything. The idea was, the idea was to get a workout in and strengthen, but this wasn't any kind of bodybuilding stuff. It was all just stuff to complement the running and the running itself. Not anything more, not anything less. And that really set the stage for how well I was able to perform and how well I was able to recover after that race we just did.
Yeah, that's interesting because, like in past races and past builds I've done, I've had, where it is kettlebell or it's like circuit style training. But this last winter, and Prairie Spirit kind of played out for me. Like I tried to put on muscle throughout the winter, and somewhat successful, whatever. But I didn't have the same engine that I did in previous races. So my bro science approach to this wasn't. I still ran a good time. I still had fun. I still completed the race, but I feel like I did leave a lot out there. And it kind of sounds like too, like, I love the Sean Corvell. He's a hype man for Tough Mudder. I don't know if you know what Tough Mudder is, but like mud obstacles course races, but he always gives a hype speech. And, one of his sayings is like, when was the last time you tried something for the first time? And then it's when you discover your best, you got your better right there, because no one's better than your best. And then, and so on. And so I love that approach, because when you give your best, you always know you got something a little bit better, right?
It sets the stage for that race. And figuring out, what do I need to do differently? What do I need to keep? Kind of like I was talking about earlier for the next race. That's deep, though. I like that.
I love it. I got goosebumps right there. Yeah. What was, your fueling strategy? Because, like, just the whole looking at your ultra signups, you don't have a lot of, like, I think you did the Prairie Spirit, like, 50 miler, and then I think you did like 60 miles or something at the Kansas City Backyard Ultra. But, like, what was your training style or your nutrition approach to this?
Yeah. And first I have to give credit to, there's a local coach here, Randy Taylor. He ran me and walked me through nutrition strategy for race day, and that really set the stage for how well my gut was able to tolerate everything I put in it. Going into specifics, though, I aimed for anywhere from 60 to 90 carbs per hour, and then my sodium intake was anywhere from 850 to 1300 milligrams per hour, and then some water sips here and there when I felt like I needed it. Although I did try and push more water down earlier on, just knowing that the temps were really going to hit up there in the afternoon. And that paid off well.
Yeah. Is it sodium tablets, or is it like, do you have a drink that you use? I'm just curious.
Yes, I use the Goo Octane Ultra Endurance.
That's right.
And I mix that with Redmond Relight. And then I just portion it out per hour or per 2 or 3 hours, or however long I need until I can swap bottles. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I wish I had like that type of, like, I just don't have the discipline to plan it out and then stick to the plan. Like David, I ran, 50 miles with David. I think when you passed us, we were like either next to each other or, we're like, well, there's Angela going. She's a beast. But he was joking to me when he did our podcast. He was like, I didn't see you over there eating very much, or you weren't drinking very much. And, I was like, well, he's done this before, so he might, he knows what he's doing. But the bonk, like I always pretend like the bonk will not happen, and then I'm in such a deficit. But because I've ran races where the objective was just to finish, but then, Prairie Spirit was to, run it as fast as I can. I need that discipline to, to fuel myself so I don't bonk.
Yeah. So were you getting your carbs from the Roctane? Is that where you were getting most of your carbs from?
Yes. I made a mental note, and I just kept it as simple as possible. Every time my watch beeped that a new mile had passed, okay, I'm going to take 2 to 3 sips of this Goo Roctane Relight, and I'm going to drink a few sips of water. Just stayed on top of it, and that really kept me on top of my fluids. And then I would add a gel here and there if I needed. And then aid station came, I would swap. I would grab something savory just to get that sweet, salty balance and not kill my gut. It worked out well until I got nausea, mile 60 or whatever, and someone had Tums, and luckily I was able to get some and get that taken care of quickly. But yeah, it went very well. The fueling strategy did. I was very happy with that.
Yeah, that's good. So it's interesting how some of the science, I don't want to say it's been changing, but man, like some of the stuff David Roche is talking about, and the 60 to 90, I think he's even going over 100 grams of carbs per hour. And it's even kind of starting to change my strategy a little bit. Cause like I said, I might be a mid-pack runner. So I used to just have the attitude of, I don't really need to keep track. I just need to eat and go run and have fun. But at the same time, like even people like myself, I think want to improve on our times, even though we're not out there to win or whatever. So, I'm starting to play around a little bit about, buying some gels just to start and try things out. Cause, years ago when I first started running, I would eat goose because that's just all I knew. And then I'm like, wait, people eat pizza during a race? I want to just eat pizza during a race. And now I'm kind of transitioning back to going, well, especially with my next race coming up, where it's going to be a long race, I'm like, I probably need to get to where I can at least get some goose down, something easier than solid food if I can't get solid stuff down. So yeah, it's interesting. Like kind of what you're talking about seems to fall right in line with what I've been reading about lately as far as the nutrition. So I think your coach definitely, from what I read, knew exactly what he was talking about. So
yeah, I just hit him up with a question, just asking for general advice, and he said, "Hey, let's just do a call and let's set you up." And he just was more than willing to help me. I didn't necessarily ask him for super detailed help. He was just willing to give, and I really owe that to him.
Yeah, we haven't talked about it yet, but where are you located? Where are you in Kansas or are you in Oklahoma? I don't remember.
I'm in Paola, Kansas.
So you're in Kansas, okay, yeah. I know I listened to the David Terrio podcast as well, and I remember the message has been him talking about Oklahoma because I know he's down there. So
yeah, Tulsa, I think. No, not Tulsa.
Owasso? Is that how you say
Tulsa,
it? Something, yeah.
That area down there. Shout out David, he's awesome.
Yeah. So you are close enough, next September if you want to come over and challenge Devin to that stroller championship in the Indy races.
I'm not anybody mad. That's the thing. I don't want to make anybody mad. I'm not there to I'm just there to like see what I can do.
Yeah.
I beat your record.
Yeah.
Or anything like that. Even if that is the case, it's just me trying to find that new level of fitness.
Yeah, and I think I know the answer to this, but we've had quite a few women on, even recently, and then like each one has a different answer. Like Amber and Lindsay, that we had them on last week, but in this world of ultra running that we're in, there's a lot more men than there are women, and some women do have the competitive drive to beat the men, but is that a motivate? Because you got second overall at Prairie Spirit, right? Like, and I know that the goal was, to be your best and to run your race, but at the same time, you beat almost every single male. And so, and with that kind of ratio, I mean, not to compare it to Courtney DeWalter, but, she beats everybody too. But that's not her goal. Her goal is to find herself and to run her race. So is that motivating to you at all, to compete at the top end, not just with women, but with men as well? And,
It's kind of cool. I don't think about competing with men. I'm not out there to show up the boys or anything like that. I'm not there to show up the girls. I take more of a Courtney Dauwalter approach where I'm just trying to do the best I can, but I also want to have as much fun as I can and make this such an incredible experience. I don't even think about that. I mean, that's the furthest thing from my mind. It's just I got lucky. I'll put it that way. Other than Pete, who obviously demolished that record, there could have been so many other pros out there that could have easily beaten me. I just got lucky at that race that they all didn't show up to that one.
I don't know. I don't think you can run a 15-something 100-miler and call that lucky, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah, that's cool. Do you have? I know you got Tunnel Hill. That's the next one. But do you have any like destination races that you're eyeing, or like any adventures like in Colorado and venturing out that way?
I've been kind of looking around. I'm still exploring. I'm still exploring what's out there. There's just so many races, and it depends on kids, obviously finances, what you can afford, what you can't afford, because obviously that all adds up, especially when you're raising a family. Nothing yet. I'd like to do something in the summer. Haven't decided yet. I do have an entry to Chicago, but I might be deferring that to the following year. My happy goal is to break 3. I tried last November running a marathon on an injury in a thunderstorm, and I still got a PR, but it wasn't sub 3, so I was happy, but I was a little bummed.
Yeah, I have such a, I want to run a fast marathon, but I also want to run, the Arkansas Traveler 100 in the fall. And like, I had the conversation with my wife today. I'm like, okay, this one's reasonable. It's a Western States race, making the whole pitch to sign up for another ultra. But yeah, I'm really looking forward, because you're so kind of new to this realm and you're just getting faster and faster. And I'm really looking forward to seeing you progress in this. Cause I've kind of watched a lot of, I don't know if you know who Nicole Lawton is. She's down in Oklahoma with David, but I think at one point she had the Kansas record out there at Prairie Spirit. But she's a fast runner. Kayla, who had the record, she's an incredible fast runner. Like, you women and you guys are inspiring, and you're inspiring me, and I love it. And keep beasting.
Happy to inspire however I can, and you men beating and setting up times, and just going out there and showing up and still conquering. I don't think just because you don't podium or you're a mid pack or back the packer that you're not inspiring me or anybody else that gets out there. That's we're still running the same distance, and we're still putting in that same effort that we can. It's just we're some people are slower, some people are faster, some people have harder races, some people have easier races. It's all inspiring as a whole. So there's nothing. You're awesome. You both are. So don't
thank you. Yeah.
You're not.
And part of the reason we started this, we had a couple main reasons of starting this whole podcast, and number one is just to inspire anybody. If it's just one person, then great, we're happy with that. But also, there are several runners like you, Nicole, David Terrio, just in the Midwest that, I mean, the Midwest just gets overlooked a lot of times for, everything, not just running, but, most people don't even realize there's, I think, trail running in the Midwest. So it's like, we wanted to give a lot of the Midwest runners a chance to get out and share their story with people. Like, we know it's cool. They listen to podcasts with Courtney DeWalter and, Jim Walmsley or whoever else, but most of us really can't relate to those people. I mean, that's a different skill level. But again, like I said, to be able to get you on here and some of the others we've had just to say, hey, look what's going on in the Midwest. And like you said, whether that's, someone winning races or doing everything they can just to finish, I think everybody can take something away from those conversations.
You have to find your crew too. You have to find those around you. Really, I love what you guys are doing and just trying to build up this. I know I know we're all in Kansas here, but this Midwest community, because it can really turn into something. And there are some awesome people all around. It's not just everybody. It's not just people that run mountain races or go to UTMB or are setting world records here. It's all of us as a whole that are really, coming together to make this sport what it is.
Yeah. So speaking of crews, do you out in Paola? Because that's fairly close to Kansas City, right?
It's about 45 minutes away from Kansas City.
So that's further than I thought. But do you have any kind of running groups in Paola in that area, or are you pretty much just running on your own out there?
No, I'm usually there's people that run here, but as far as the ultra running goes, I have not met anybody yet. I would love to, but I don't really think there's anybody, at least that I know of. We moved here back in October, and I really haven't been able to find anybody.
Yeah. Well, good luck. Hopefully you can.
It's fine. I train with my kids. I'm blessed to not need that companionship while running. I'm content being on my own. I train without music. I really don't listen to music. If anything, I might turn on a podcast, but I'm so zoned in on how I'm breathing. What's my cadence? Are my foot strikes too loud? What's my arm swing? Just constantly checking the boxes to make sure I'm running efficiently, and then looking around, exploring, looking at nature. But I do not need that. Although it is so nice to be able to run with somebody, and sometimes I do need that, but it's not a necessity.
Yeah, we kind of talked last week to Amber a little bit because she doesn't typically listen to music a whole lot. I don't either, and it's interesting how I'm just curious when you go out running for, let's say, a long run, whatever that is, 2, 3, 4 hours by yourself. You kind of talked about checking all those boxes. What other kind of stuff pops up in your head? Because like I've said before, I can go out and run for 20 miles on my own, and I feel like I think about a lot of stuff, but when someone asks me later, like, hey, what were you thinking about during 20 miles? I really usually have no idea what was going on in my head. Like it just happens and then it's all gone.
I'm the same way. Like I think about something and then I'll just forget what I was actually thinking about when I'm on that run, just because I just don't remember. Although a lot of the times it's, and you guys can relate, I'm sure, it's, I need to get back by this time and I need to be able to run fast enough so I can get the kids so that Ian, my husband, can go do be in big trouble.
I had that this morning when I was planning 9 miles, but I took a different route because I didn't, I have a trail behind my house, but I didn't want to, long story short, I mistimed it. And I'm trying to text my wife saying I'm going to be late, but we got to get to church at this time. And it's like, no,
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that's usually when I'll just do a loop around my house. But this time I did a south. Yeah, she was like, it's fine, but I'm curious, kind of as we wind down a little bit, I wanted your take on just if you could give advice to, a mom or, just a young mother or a mother who wants to get started, but they don't really quite know how to get started? Like, is it okay to, just some of the struggles of just simply getting started, give some advice on that and what you would tell someone.
Set a goal, or you just kind of jump in and try it out. The biggest things I would do is kind of from a psychological standpoint, get your values ordered, get them in order. How much time are you going to logically be able to dedicate to exercise? How important is it to you? Are you able to self-discipline? Everybody talks about having these motivators, but in reality, you need to be self-disciplined, and then you can, motivation is kind of follows after that. There's different things that are going to motivate you all the time. So, if they're willing to have that self-discipline, if they're able to find that time block where they can exercise, if it's important enough to them, if they have a goal or if they have 5 goals, I would say that's the first step into really trying to get after it. Just getting your emotions, getting your mind, making sure you have your support system, which sometimes it's just you. Sometimes it's that random running follower on Instagram that may not follow you back, but still is telling you to get after it. You generally speaking. But that's what I would say. That's what I did for my 100, and that's what made training so efficient. I almost said easy, and I'm like, no, it was not easy.
Yeah. When you first initially started running, like, was there, did your husband have concern with you running by yourself with your kids, or like, did you have worries running, or like when you're running at 4 a.m., in the dark, like, were you just like, what, I'm doing this no matter what?
I don't run alone at night, like outside, unless I'm with somebody. I do treadmill, like if it's sun up. If I'm going solo, let's say on a weekend, I wait till it's at least light outside to be able to go. But answering your question, he's not worried. I usually have obviously I'm not perfect, but I have a pretty good radar on what to do, what not to do, and kind of avoiding certain things and setting different safety strategies in place. Worst comes to worst. Obviously, we can't prevent everything, but I've been blessed that I haven't had or ever had any instances happen to me. So, knock on wood, and hopefully that continues to be a thing.
Yeah.
Cool. So yeah, I know Devin's got some rapid fire stuff here shortly to wrap up with, but I'm curious, just since you mentioned Instagram earlier, I'm just kind of curious what your thoughts are on as far as what you see for running on social media. And the reason I ask that, because I think I'll be honest, most of my Facebook is basically family stuff and running stuff. Like anything else, political stuff. The algorithm
knows you well.
Any of that stuff, like I don't want to see it. Like I just want it to be kind of a happy place. But as newer runners, like I kind of caution people, because it's very easy to fall into that trap of, oh, well, this person ran this fast, I should be training harder to do that. And I guess like social media could be a very good thing, but it can also like have a very negative impact. So I'm kind of curious your thoughts on, posting running stuff on social media. Have you ever had issues with it? Because I've seen people get mad before when I've kind of made the mistake of going, hey, I just went out and ran a half marathon for training and I was just going easy. And then I put my time, and they're like, well, I could never run that fast. And so like, even when you're not trying to be, upsetting people, like I could see where someone's going, this guy's not even trying and running faster than I can ever go. So it looks bad. So anyway, like I said, good or bad, I'm just kind of curious what you think about social media and running content.
People are always going to get offended at the good, the bad, the ugly. that's kind of the way I see it. I take the approach of stay in your lane. It's your training, it's your pace, own it, but also encourage other people to be able to do better and just know that we're all at different fitness levels. But there's nothing wrong with, in my opinion at least, there's nothing wrong with posting a past half marathon time, even if it's easy. It's just somebody got offended, and that's always going to happen. I do that with a lot of my runs where I'll post the time, but I'm not out there trying to brag it. I'm just trying to, it's kind of my own way of like, yes, this is how I'm training for that next level. I'm just owning it. That's my personal page. Obviously, Instagram owns the whole thing, but it's not really anybody's business what we do or don't do on that end. With other people trying to give advice on Instagram to newbies, I kind of frown at a lot of it, just because training is so unique to the person and it's so different. You have so many people, and I've promoted brands too, so myself included to an extent, that are trying to advertise brands and products that other people simply do not need, that are not going to suit them well. Just because somebody performs well taking X, Y, and Z supplements doesn't mean that this person who's a beginner runner is going to perform very similarly if they take X, Y, and Z supplements. And it's a trap. Instagram running, blessing, but a curse. I'll just go back to saying stay in your lane. Just know what works for you. Have that, try and find like-minded people that are like you, but also know that even if they're very much like-minded, they're going to be different in one way, shape, or form.
Yeah, that's good. And like I said, I'm not a coach, but I think I know enough that I have seen a lot of bad advice given to new runners. I always see these groups, like some guys like, well, how soon can I run a 50-mile race? And there's always somebody chiming in going, well, I've never ran more than 3 miles at one time, and I did a 50-miler. And I'm like, okay, but don't do that.
All right, Goggins.
But yeah, so cool. So, yeah. But anyway, so yeah. All right, next topic. Yeah.
Cool. Well, thanks for doing this, Angela. I know it's getting late. Kids are in bed. Like I know. I don't hear mine screaming in the other room anymore because so I've got a 7-year-old, 3-year-old, 1-year-old, and they're all boys, and it is a madhouse. Like they're the great kids, but they love to roughhouse, and they're in that roughhousing stage, and then one will hit themselves in the head and then cry, but I don't hear anything, so I think they're asleep. Yes. Or hopefully the living room's not destroyed when I go in there, but it's all good. So thanks for doing this. Congrats on all the success. I'm hoping, I know that you got a whole, like, I'll say, I don't know your total aspirations or anything. I think, is Tunnel Hill a Western States race? I'm pretty sure it is.
I think it is.
Yeah. I mean, with 600.
Wait. Case that's new to me and happy.
Yeah. I mean, that's, you never know. Like, I think David got in with 2 tickets, and if I do a Western States this race, because my end goal is Western States. Like, if I run Western States, I'll retire probably from ultra running, but probably not. But yeah, I'll say that. But I also said I was done running 100-milers in the middle of Prairie Spirit, and then here I am already. So that's, yeah. So, well, cool. Thanks for doing this. This is a lot of fun, But yeah. we got a few rapid fire questions that we've asked pretty much everybody. Are you a Coke or a Pepsi drinker?
I love.
or neither, neither's a choice.
I actually had a ton of Coke and Mountain Dew out at Prairie, just downing that stuff for some reason that it was just so good. And I don't think I've ever had that much pop before or soda or whatever. In an ultra before. It was awesome.
Yeah. Are you music or no music while you're running?
Uh, Somewhere in the middle. Generally,
Yeah, somewhere in the middle. What shoes are you wearing? Like while you're running, what are your running shoes?
so I've been wearing Saucony exclusively for the past 4 years just because they fit my feet well. Um, and I ran in the endorphin speed force for Prairie Spirit. So yeah,
Nice.
I never really had an issue with Saucony. It's just I like them. They fit my feet well, and haven't seen a reason to go anywhere else.
It's not broke, don't fix it.
A
Yeah. If you could pick a celebrity, pacer, or crew member, who would it be?
Ooh. Courtney DeWalter.
Say that again.
Courtney DeWalter.
Oh, nice. Good choice. Solid choice. And then we have a giant Spotify playlist that's all over the spectrum of everyone's go-to songs. What's yours to add to it?
Um,
It could be anything. We have everything from NF to Beyonce to Blink-182 to
I can't remember the name of the song. My husband showed it to me the other day, and it just stuck with me. I want to say, let's just say the fight song. I mean, that's on the list.
the fights. Yeah, I think I know which one you're talking about.
Remember who the artist is.
I I'm not gonna sing it. We might definitely, if I try and sing it to clarify, it might, people will definitely turn it off. But yeah, I think yeah. Well, cool. This is awesome. Thanks for doing this. I know it's getting late. I know it's a whole thing to schedule time with doing a podcast and doing running and all the things, but you're kicking butt and it's awesome to see. So, do you have I know you got Instagram. I know you post running stuff on there and all that stuff, but yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Brian, you got anything?
No, I don't really have anything additional to add other than just thank you for joining us and chatting with us. The only thing I would say is the day after this comes out is the Top City Half Marathon, so that one's kind of I guess, a done deal. That's like Topeka's only half marathon. But for anyone listening, we like to promote local events, so I think I don't have the date with me, but in June is the Angie Berry. They have a 10K and 5K, and it's a fundraising event out at Hummer Sports Park. So, keep an eye out for that. We'll post some more information, and I'm sure there's other stuff in the Topeka and surrounding areas in between now and then, but I'll try to dig some of that out and post on our Facebook page.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So
I'll keep that.
I was going to ask a little bit. We could just do like a quick cliff note of it, but you ran the Kansas City Backyard Ultra, right? This last year. Mm-hmm. Would you go back to that style of format where you're forced to run much slower, or are you like, I like the fast stuff?
I'm a little bit of both. I love the people that I ran with last year, and if it just meant an excuse to get a run in with them, even if I don't win, or I would love an excuse to run with them. I don't really have, after Prairie Spirit, I don't have too much of a desire to go back and compete in that actual race. If I were to do it, it would just be to get a fun long run in with a bunch of.
Yeah, that one's on the
this year though, so I might be out there crewing this year. I'm not really sure yet. It just kind of depends on a few different things, but it's a fun race.
Yeah, that one's it's on the list of potentials this summer, because I'd love that backyard style format. So, well, cool. Thanks for doing this. Brian, thanks for doing this as always.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Run happy, train hard, and we'll see you out there.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Buckleheads Podcast. We look forward to sharing more information and stories with you on future episodes, and thank you all for coming along on this journey with us.
You gotta find your people, the ones that make you feel whole. They won't leave your side when you lose control.